I love the Ninja Turtles. A great indie comic, a legendary animated series, a toy line that was almost absurdly inspired given what it had to work with, and at least 2 genuinely good movies. And also some other stuff in a new show that people assure me is actually pretty good, whatever. But one of the places the franchise both excelled and always felt truly at home was the world of video games, where everything about the Turtles seemed as though it had been tailor-made for the medium. Sure, as with any property like this, there are a lot of poor to average entries taking up space, but there are also others that were genuine classics and indeed some of the best examples of their respective genre ever produced. There was just something about Leo, Don, Raph, and Mikey that brought out the best in electronic entertainment. I'm the Game OverThinker, and these are the top 10 best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. Number 10, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES. Alright, let's talk about this. The NES Ninja Turtles game is infamous and turns up on a lot of worst games lists or negative nostalgia breakdowns, and as far as I'm concerned, that's just unfair. Yes, the game is too hard to be fun, the bulk of people who bought it ended up giving up after the water level, it suffers from level design that really could have used a more stringent quality control, and it just didn't capture the feel of the animated series or the toy line that had already become by that point the face of the property. But on balance, compared to both the grand sweep of subsequent Turtles games and other similar exploration platformers of the time, there's actually a lot to recommend. It's trying a lot of new things, it's very ambitious for an NES game of the era, it's not necessarily that much more broken than other better regarded, unfairly hard 8-bit actioners like Ninja Gaiden. It's a flawed game, but not the terrible one it's become characterized as, and if it's been a while since you actually tried it, it's absolutely worth revisiting. Number 9, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Manhattan Missions. Depending on what order I get these lists up in, this might be the first MS-DOS exclusive game to appear on the series. How nifty is that? Among Turtles games, Manhattan Missions is mainly noteworthy for being a gameplay and atmosphere outlier, aiming more for Prince of Persia than Double Dragon and drawing much more heavily on the original, darker comics and the first feature film than the animated series that inspired most of the subsequent adaptations. Regarded by many as a fascinating relic of its era, the unique gameplay and above average for the period graphics and animation make it the overlooked gem of the franchise. Number 8, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters on the Super Nintendo. The TMNT franchise has literally hundreds of unique characters and is themed almost entirely around martial arts and fighting, yet incredibly, they only ever did 3 one-on-one 2D fighting games, and even that's only because back then you had to develop a different version for every console. That feels like someone dropped the ball, right? In any case, the Super Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters was the best one, featuring the best balance between gameplay and a solid selection of characters. Was it enough to settle every who would win debate in the golden age of Turtle fandom? Of course not, but once upon a time, it was as close as anything was going to come. Number 7, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Radical Rescue on the Game Boy. A Ninja Turtles Metroidvania? Why didn't we see more of that? Radical Rescue was easily one of the best Game Boy TMNT titles, offering a unique and challenging experience with benefits of its own beyond simply being portable. This is one of the first few games to exploit the idea of individual turtles having special abilities necessary to access and or excel at key points in the game, and it made a special impression on a whole generation as the most fondly remembered turtle experience on the Game Boy. A portable title so good you still loved it even if you weren't away from home with no other options. Number 6, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2007 on the Game Boy Advance. Okay, look, yes, this list is pretty heavily weighted to the 90s version of Ninja Turtles brand. You can chalk that up to misplaced nostalgia if you want, but the fact is the so-called classic era of TMNT also happened to be the console golden age in gaming, where rather than being cheap cash-ins, licensed titles were often the bread and butter of major developers, and it wasn't at all rare for a property like this to inspire real-deal excellent work from developers instead of just getting tossed off. Turtles games made sense then, whether we're talking about the early 2000 series, the sort of canonical CGI animated fourth movie, the Michael Bay movies, or the Nickelodeon show, have tended to be at best inoffensive shovelware without much staying power. The exception, though, was the Game Boy Advance version of that aforementioned 2007 CGI reboot, which eschewed the track taken by the console versions in favor of solidly retro beat-em-up that harkened back to the glory days of, well, the next 5 games on this list, basically. 2007 was not the time to be gaming if fresh side-scrolling action was your bag, what with the genuine retro revival boom not hitting the majors or the indies for another few years, so it was fitting that the rare bright spot came from none other than the heroes on the half-shell. Number 5, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade. Okay, so even though I'll concede that the NES Ninja Turtles game was underappreciated, the fact remains that the reason it underwhelmed was that it was too hard to be fun for the comparatively young audience that was gobbling up the property at the time, and didn't feel enough like the series to deliver the live-the-adventure feel that young turtle maniacs were craving from a TMNT title. So like a lot of kids my age, the first time I saw this up close and personal, it was like they'd made it just for me. No water level, no impossible jumps, just pick your favorite turtle and smash the crap out of the Foot Clan. And they even had the music, the voices, kind of, and damn, just the sight of Rocksteady actually using his machine gun put a new part in your hair back in the day. Even though they themselves weren't created for video games, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and their entire world of enemies, allies, sewer lairs, city streets, and technodromes were almost ideally suited to the medium and to the arcade brawler genre in particular. What a masterpiece. Number 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project on the NES. The Nintendo Entertainment System exclusive third TMNT brawler might, I stress might, be better overall than its direct predecessor. It's a really tough call. Whichever you prefer, it's hard to deny that Manhattan Project is a near masterpiece, taking everything that worked about the previous game and adding unique special moves, new enemies, a killer assortment of enemy bosses, and taking the action to fresh locations like a Florida beach, a floating New York City, and outer space, while also making sure to bring out the classic sewer, street, and Technodrome levels. All that, plus the first video game appearance of the Super Shredder, made this a classic that's still finding new fans to this day. Number 3. Turtles in Time Arcade. The follow-up to one of the best brawlers ever after a pair of console-exclusive entries took an already winning formula and blew it out in all the best ways. Better graphics, better animation, new moves, a greater variety of enemies, and a time travel gimmick that allowed for fresh locations like the Old West, pirate ships, and more. Yes, the first arcade game will always have more historic significance, but as a gameplay experience, Turtles in Time may be the best licensed game ever, and as Overthinker fans know, I already named it the best overall 2D brawler of all time, so you'd best believe it made this list too. Number 2. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game for the NES. This isn't just a list of what's best though, it's also about delivering the Ninja Turtle experience. Was I reticent to put a console port of an arcade game that was already on the list this high? For a moment, yeah, but the fact is, along with having to essentially program a whole new version of the game from the ground up, the hotly demanded NES port of the then revolutionary Ninja Turtles arcade title went way above and beyond when it came to bringing the experience home. Yes, obviously the graphics were different and you couldn't get the full 4-player team on screen, but in trade-off you got extended levels, 2 entirely new levels, Baxter Stockman in his fly form as a boss, and 2 entirely new boss characters. Number 1. Turtles in Time Super NES. Turtles in Time is the best 2D brawler ever made, according to me, but like many arcade-born classics of its era, it comes in 2 flavors, and in this case, the Super Nintendo version eats its predecessor's pizza no contest, especially in terms of delivering on pure turtle fan service. The controls are tighter, you could change the shading of your turtle to better tell them apart on screen, the 2 auto-scrolling levels got changed into bonus rounds with Sick Mode 7 effects, you got a whole second Technodrome level, and several very welcome console-exclusive boss battles with Slash, the Rat King, riding the foot ski even, Super Shredder, and Bebop and Rocksteady. Seriously, how do you leave Bebop and Rocksteady out of a Turtles game? Turtles in Time hit at pretty much the last moment when the original Turtle brand was untouchable. As fans will tell you, things were pretty much downhill for the whole franchise from that point on. But if you have to go out, going out with one of the best examples of an entire video game genre is one way to do it. And that's why Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo is the best Ninja Turtles game ever made. And that's the list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell us about it in the comments and suggest other lists you might like to see. Remember to like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and please consider donating to the moviebob Patreon to support this and other series like it. Hey gang, here's a question that keeps coming up. If your handle is moviebob, where are your movie reviews? Well, my old reviews are in a lot of places. You'll find many of them on my YouTube channel, but you'll find the brand new ones on Geek.com, an awesome site that's also your one-stop news source for science, TV, gaming, technology, nerd culture, the works. You can find all my reviews directly by going to geek.com/author/bchipman, because that's my real name, and you can get regular updates on all my reviews and all of Geek.com's other great content by signing up for their kick-ass newsletter at subscribe.geek.com. And don't forget to also subscribe to the Geek.com YouTube channel, where you'll find the videos that accompany my reviews and tons of other great content too. Remember, that's Geek.com, the Geek.com newsletter, and Geek.com on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss out on all the latest MovieBob reviews. You can also check out my own new website, MovieBob Central, where you'll find my blog, links to all my work, and shop for my books, ebooks, and future MovieBob products. And please remember to like these videos, share them with all of your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching another MovieBob production.